Hi there. Today's class, you don't really need a yoga mat. I want you to be able to do this after work anytime that might feel nice to stretch out. A couple of blocks could be helpful and a strap or a long scarf. Grab those things and let's get started. So we're going to move into our tabletop shape to start. So finding that nice stack where your shoulders are over top the wrists, the hips are over top the knees. And we'll just go through a couple of rounds here to start to loosen up the back. So on your inhale, belly drops low. That gaze starts to go up. Exhale, press through the hands, arch the spine, tuck the chin to the chest. So inhale, belly low, flick that tailbone out, gaze goes up. Exhale, press through the hands, find that arch, tuck the chin. Keep moving through this a few times. And if something a little bit more organic would feel good on the back here, that is definitely another option. You can make figure eights with the spine or big circles. It's less about what it feels like and just more about starting to open up the back body, the front body. If you've been sitting in a chair for a while, this is a great way to just start to release, get a little movement coming back into that upper body. Now let's make this a little bit bigger. Let's start to sink back. You might even take the toes together, knees out a little wider. Find child's pose. Maybe the forehead comes all the way down to the mat. See if you can rest there just for a moment. And then on your inhale, start to rise back up, kind of through that tabletop shape, and allow the belly to drop all the way down, finding your way in a high cobra pose. So elbows are bent, elbows are squeezing into the back, the midline. Exhale, let's go back. So we'll find that child's pose again. So finding those same type of movements. Child's pose, we find that little arch in the spine, just like cat. And as we come into our high cobra, this is kind of like our cow pose. We're finding that opposite feeling. Couple more times here. Feel free to exaggerate this, go a little slower, go a little faster. You might even find that a up dog, so rising just on the tops of the feet here and allowing the hips to sink a little more, might feel really nice. So just fluctuating between that rounded back and the belly dropping through. Last time we'll meet in this child's pose. And then start to bring the hands back towards your knees. We'll come up to a high kneeling position. We're going to come into gate pose. So we're starting in this high kneeling position. Right leg goes out directly next to you. I like to really plant the right foot on the ground. And then the right arm is going to slide down as the left arm comes up and overhead. So side stretch. So really feel the left side of the body starting to stretch. The right side of the body is starting to compress. So we're finding those opposite movements. Inhale, rise up. Maybe you reach all the way over to the ground on the other side off the mat. Now we're stretching into the right side body. Might feel nice to look up underneath the arm. Let's go back towards the right. Maybe this time you sink just a tiny bit deeper. And then over towards the left. Gaze could go up by the arm. And back through center. Let's bring the knees back. So we're in that high kneeling position. I'm just going to adjust so I can kick my leg out to the left here. And then that left foot goes out next to us. Foot flat on the floor, giving yourself a little bit of stability. And that left hand goes down the leg as my right arm goes up and over. So we're just finding the other side. We got a little bit into this stretch on that reverse gate or the other side, sometimes called counter gate, I think I've heard. Inhale, now we'll reach towards the ground. Slightly different stretch, so maybe notice how this feels different. Gaze could go up underneath the arm. Inhale, let's go back to the other side. And last time over towards the right. Feel this stretch out. Excellent. Back to that high kneeling position. And maybe reaching for a block, we're going to come into Virasana or hero's pose. And it can be kind of nice to have this block in between the shins, and then you can sit back on your heels, but you're really sitting on the block. So you can choose with or without the block. And then reach for that strap. I'm just going to twist towards you, but stay exactly where you are. It's perfect. We're going to do a little shoulder flossing. So if we think about sitting at a desk for a long period of time, a lot of us tend to hunch forward a little bit. So opening up the shoulders, opening up the front body, we're helping to counter some of that. So hands are a little wider than the shoulders. Keep a nice loose grip so that you can easily move the hands on this strap. And then with your inhale, rise up overhead. As we get to this spot, this is where it might get sticky, and I always need to widen my hands out and lower all the way back down to the hips. So inhale, rise up. Exhale, lower back down. And go through this a few times and give yourself permission here to pause at any little moment where it feels really sticky, like right here might feel nice. Maybe I just sit with this, open up side to side, just allow a little more stretch. So if you find those spots where you're like, ooh, I'd love to pause there and just really get into the stretch, give yourself that freedom. We're not rushing. You don't have to get through a certain number of these movements. This strap might be nice to keep next to your desk. You could do this a couple times during the day if your shoulders and your pecs are particularly tight, which that can happen for sure to me. All right, let's move this a little bit. So we'll start to take the right arm towards the mat. If you're sitting on a block, maybe it just hovers. If you're not sitting on a block, maybe you pin your hand onto the mat. This left hand is what we're gonna move. So starting to open up, careful of that. If you've got one of these little things, maybe gripping it so you don't get hit in the face. Okay, almost did. We're just opening up the arms, so a little different stretch. So it's my left arm that's guiding this movement. That right arm's staying pretty stable. So my arm's hovering. Maybe your arm is pinning the strap to your right side. Either way is great. And then let's do the other side. So left arm is our kind of base. This right arm is guiding the movement. So we're just guiding it in front and then in back, little different kind of shoulder stretch. Again, that same option. If there's a spot here that feels interesting and you'd like to pause, there's always an option. Let's see if we can make little circles now with the strap. So we'll come in front and then right arm goes down, left arm up. Bring it all the way around the back, back by your hips. Right arm rises up. We're kind of leaning towards the left and then back to center. So maybe do 2 or 3 of these big strap circles in one direction and then reverse and go the other way. Your pace, it doesn't need to be the same as mine. All right, that's 3 for me. I'm going to go towards the left first this time. And remember, you don't have to be going the same speed as me. So maybe you're doing a little less than 3 or even more than 3. That would also be okay. Awesome. And when you're done with that, we'll take the strap, just set it off to the top side of your mat. I'm going to come off of my block and we're going to make our way into a downward facing dog. So tucking the toes, start to rise the hips up towards the sky, that upside down V. And once you get here, let's start to just stretch this out. We always remember down dog is more about the upper body. That's where we're looking for that straight line. So the legs can be really, really bent. So maybe feeling like you could just melt the heart back towards the thighs a little bit more. Shift the hips from side to side, maybe pedaling the feet. What would feel really nice here? Awesome. We'll settle those movements, just coming back to the center. And then the right foot's going to step up towards the right thumb. We're coming into a low lunge. I'm going to untuck my back toes. That is a choice you get to make. And then inhale, rise up. Maybe the hands go up overhead. And then we'll take some little bounces. So if you'd like, hands could come to the hips, wherever you'd like them. Let's just see if we can take about 10 pulses here. So we're just leaning a little more forward. Does not matter. The knee could be going way over the front of your toes, or maybe it's a little bit more in line with the ankle. Less important, really feel that stretch down the front of your left hip flexor. We're moving here, not as static, to really allow it to release. Awesome. And then settle the movements. Maybe move your feet to a spot that now feels the most comfortable. And let's take a little bind. So behind the back, you could take opposite hand to opposite elbow. Nice gentle bind here. Again, we're opening up the shoulders. You could also interlace the hands, and your thumbs could rest right on the sacrum, that big bone above the booty, below the back. Same place we put our block in supported bridge. And then third option, maybe you lengthen the hand down. And if you do this, see if you can really reach down the back leg towards the knee. I'm not there, but I'm going towards the knee. Any of these options, can you think about squeezing the shoulder blades together on your back body? And maybe the gaze is going up towards the ceiling. Open up a little more. And exhale, release. Let's bring the hands back towards the mat. You could come through tabletop here or back right into that downward facing dog. That's where I'm going to go. Little pedaling out one more time. And we'll get ready to do that same thing on the other side. So on your inhale, left foot steps up towards your left thumb, lower the right knee, and then rise the arms up. Find that nice comfortable movement. Back toes are tucked or untucked. Adjust your feet, then maybe the hands come to the hips. So we'll take those 10 or so little pulses here. So this might be a super small little bounce. So it's a bit of a dynamic stretch versus our static stretches when we hold something particular. Dynamic stretches are really good, particularly at the start of any time of movement. And it can also help to just find a little bit of space as we just kind of allow the brain to relax. And we're not thinking so much about stretching, it just happens. Yeah, so that's the front of our right hip flexor now. Awesome, and that feels even. We'll find that bind. Let's take the opposite hand on top. So again, you could be reaching for opposite elbows or interlace the thumbs. Now that uncomfortable thumb is on top, the non-dominant grip. And maybe you lengthen the arm, starting to reach back for that back knee. Never need to get there. Feel about squeezing our shoulder blades together. Gaze goes up. Ooh, open up. This feels really nice for me. That's really the point. We're not looking to do anything crazy. We're looking to find some movements that feel nice. So don't try to overstretch, over push. Allow the body to release gently. Hands come back towards the mat. Let's step back, find that down dog one more time. All these little movements just helping to feel a little bit more space in the body. And we'll move into a pigeon pose from here. So the right knee is going to come behind the right wrist. Left leg slides back and then check in. We want to always start our half pigeon here with balanced hips. So we don't want to be leaning over towards the right or towards the left. You always have this option. Grab a block. If your right hip is up quite a bit, this block underneath might help you to find square hips, which is going to allow you to have a better stretch. And then on your exhale, start to lower yourself down. Now, if pigeon is not something that feels like a nice, comfortable stretch, your other option would be pigeon on the back. And so you would just kind of lay yourself down, right ankle cross over the left knee, and you could stay here or interlace your hands behind the left hamstring. We're getting into the same right hip in this posture, and this can be more comfortable for some people and maybe just more comfortable on different days. So those are both of your options. There's not one that is better or worse. It's just a choice. Pigeon pose is one that feels nice while you're watching TV sometimes. So if this is something that feels more juicy in your body, your hips are feeling a little tighter, great pose. Easy to do on the carpet in front of the TV. All right, let's start to come back up to your hands. Tuck the back toes. I always like to walk my leg in a little bit. And then slide your way back, downward facing dog. Last movement here. We're just going to do the same thing on the other side. So the left knee is going to come up behind the left wrist, or again, you could take pigeon on your back. The left ankle would cross over your right knee in that case. Check in. Both sides do not need to be the same. So maybe this is the time to slide a block or blanket or anything underneath the left hip just to find balance in the hips. And then once you find that, start to lower yourself down to any amount. Again, we're looking for this to be a nice stretch on the left outer hip. Go to the point that it feels nice, not the point that it feels like too much. It's never a rush with yoga. One of the reasons to just practice more regularly is it's those little consistent movements that help us find more space over time. So if you're looking to increase your flexibility, I'd rather you do a little bit every day than just try to practice once a week. That consistency is really where we start to see change happen, particularly in flexibility. But also if we're trying to gain strength. So always better to practice 3 to 4 times a week. They don't need to be long practices versus trying to pack it all in once a week. And so hopefully having classes like this in the studio, that's one of the things we're trying to give you that accessibility for. And start to walk your way back up to a high spine. You could always go back to that down dog one more time or just bring the right leg around. We'll find a comfortable seat. No need for Shavasana today. We're just taking that nice stretch. Let's bring the palms of the hands together to touch at heart center. Bow forward. Thank you for practicing with me today. And I hope to see you again here next time on your mat.